Hello magical folk, it's Faerie Sarah here. I am your Monday sub-host for sub-week on Starting Out Solitary. I will be here on Mondays once every 4 weeks, and then any other time that I can help out the regular witchy hosts. So today's video is just to tell you a little bit about me. Let's start with where I am. I am currently living in Melbourne, in Victoria, in Australia. I've been here for nearly a year now. I moved here last February from Perth, Western Australia, which is the other side of the country, for those who aren't familiar. I moved here with my husband's work. When I'm not making YouTube videos and doing witchy things, I can be found in my art studio, which is currently my sister's shed, but it's awesome, so it doesn't matter. I work as an artist by trade, illustrating, painting, and makering all of the things. I like to make spirit dolls and sacred tools and magical jewelry and little fairy inspired miniature magical things. I am about to start an illustration project illustrating a spiritual children's book. I've been working on my own fairy oracle deck forever. I hope to have that finished one day. And last year I created my first colouring in book of some of my original illustrations. I have worked as an arts educator in high schools and also at an art therapy centre in Perth for 3 years. And in that process, in all of that teaching process, I learnt that art is transformative, and because of that, it is really in alignment with magic for me. And so my arts practice and witchcraft practice often sync up and they feed each other. If I go for periods without creating or making art, I feel terrible. But the same goes if I'm not making time to connect into my witchcraft practice, I also feel terrible. So they go hand in hand in making up my world. My witchcraft practice in the past has been very alchemical and used for transformation. It's been taking the heaviness of my life and turning it into gold, really. Spirit has been with me Spirit has been with all of us since the beginning, I believe, but I knew its presence in my life from a very early age, and I didn't grow up in a religious or spiritual family, but I've always been that black sheep or rainbow purple glitter covered sheep. And yeah, it was kind of like I was born to be a witch, and I'm sure many other magical folk get that feeling. It's kind of like you didn't have a choice. I personally don't feel I had a choice. I feel like it chose me when I was very young. So yeah, and it's really helped turn what could have been a big bloody mess into gold. So thanks for that. I've also used my witchcraft practice for healing, for psychological healing, for physical healing. It's how I connect to spirit. It's how I connect to the earth and nature and life, and it's fueled by synchronicity for me and intuitive guidance, and this thing I have inside that I call the truth bell, which is resonance. It's when you feel that alignment, and it's that's the path that you follow. It's how I celebrate the cycles. I follow the witch's wheel, but I don't follow that traditional Wiccan one. It's based off the same sort of thing, but I look at the summer solstice, winter solstice, the autumn equinox, spring equinox, and then the midway points between those. Samhain, Beltane, Lughnasadh, Imbolc, but I look at them as midpoints between those major areas, because the energy for me feels really different when I was living in Perth, and now living in Melbourne is really different all over again. So I feel like I'm relearning the wheel to fit in with where I am currently, and what nature is reflecting and mirroring back to me. And I find that's really important for my practice, is going out and observing what are the trees telling me, what are the birds that are present, what is the energy of the land saying to me, and tuning into that and working with that to inform my practice. I love following the cycle of the moon as well. I love dark moon so much, and then I also love new moon, that tiny little slither, and then I also feel the joy and the crazy of full moon, and I've love to celebrate the moon in my practice. Offerings are a really important part of my practice. I do morning offerings to spirit, and I do weekly offerings to my ancestors and the mighty dead, and I do offerings to the fairies and the local spirits. I love altar work. I have altars everywhere. I find them, I think creating beauty is something that artists that I know, they tune into that. So it's kind of like life is an altar, but the physical altars, and some are for reverence, and some are for action, and some are for spell work, and some are for brewing things, and some are for trying to figure out a thing. That's interesting too. I do lots of journal work. I love divination. I'm not crash hot at tarot or anything like that, but I do love it, and I use it personally for myself. What else? It's my witchcraft practice is for visioning. I've got a really beautiful inner world that is very important for me, that I use to help inform my practice. And so doing visioning, meditation, visualization, trance work is an important part. I guess if we're going to put labels on it, we could say that it's kind of like hedge witchery, or, you know, there's herbalism and green witchery stuff in there too. And then there's kitchen witchery, making and getting crafty and actually being a crafty witch, making spells or candles or things like that too. And then there's the fairy practices, and I'm starting to learn more about reclaiming and ecstatic practices, which is very interesting. And I've had shamanic training and priestess training, and I also started, I worked for 10 years in a Wicca eclectic based convent, and then we kind of all spread out and focused on where the path was going for us, which was super exciting. And that circle was called the Sacred Circle of the Inner Flame, which was run by the beautiful Ethne. And I'm pretty sure that everyone who does tarot will know who Ethne is. She's a fellow YouTuber. And another YouTube shout out to one of the girls in that circle was Eris Elizabeth, and she's another beautiful YouTuber here who's actually was the one egging me on to get onto YouTube in the first place. So thanks. So this circle that I was in was pretty damn magic, with these beautiful, inspiring people with all sorts of different strengths, bringing them to the circle and to our celebrations and sharing from that point. I've also worked in Druidcraft. I worked in a Druidcraft circle for a year in Perth as well. What else? I've done different healing modalities, energy healing, so much. I feel like actually my spiritual path is more important than everything. It's kind of frightening. It's wonderful. It's exhilarating. It's big. It is who I am. I don't think you could take it away and not have one or the other. It just is who I am. I just am that person, and it informs everything. And it feeds everything, and it's not something that I just do one day a week. It's kind of like the minute I wake up in the morning, every single act is, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, I think that I could talk about witchcraft magicness until the cows come home. I love it, which I think is going to be really ace to be here at Starting Out Solitary, because there's so many interesting topics and different things that I wouldn't have thought to even bring to YouTube to talk about. So I'm looking forward to speaking on a variety of interesting subjects with you all, and also listening to what all the varied witches of this channel have to say. So cool to get all different perspectives, and I think that's a really important thing actually, is that your witchcraft is your witchcraft and my witchcraft is mine, and they're never going to look the same even if we walked very similar looking paths. So do take what you like from what I share, and whatevs with the rest of it. It's just my experience, and I'm going with the flow of it all. And I hope that you enjoy. And if you've got any questions, please pop them down below in the comments and I'll get back to you. I've also got a link down below to all of the other hosts pages and sub-host pages. We have personal pages as well, most of us, I'm pretty sure. So go check them out and say hello, and yeah, stay magical everybody. I'll see you in 4 weeks. Blessed be.